We have a much better grasp, I think, right now of the situation in New Orleans and the area around New Orleans, certainly than we had an hour and 15 minutes ago, and in many respects we've had in some days. That is one chapter, one act in this story. There is also the Mississippi part of the story facing a hurricane. In truth, nothing really matters except getting through it, surviving. Once the immediate threat passes, you may discover that just about everything else that you once had has gone. People in Louisiana have learned that, and so have people in Mississippi. Here's correspondent Randy Kay.
This was once one of the most beautiful streets in Biloxi, lined with Victorian homes that caught the eyes of tourists. A day after Hurricane Katrina, though, Howard Avenue looks like a garbage dump.
The 2 bedrooms and a bath is over there.
Across the street?
Yeah.
Mariella Ronsonet used to have a home at 375 Howard Avenue. It's now in pieces across the street. So is Gary Stillwell's home. He lived next door with his wife in a 2-story Victorian that survived every storm since the 1800s.
We've lost our soul, I think. This is, as any couple or family, your home is kind of your mark. Now it's stretched all over.
The Stillwells and Mrs. Ronsonet have been neighbors for years, but only one of them evacuated this time. Ronsonet split. Thinking she and her home had survived Hurricane Camille back in '69, she thought this time around they both would too. But when this 65-year-old grandmother returned and found her home flattened, she felt lost.
I lived through Camille, and it was here during Camille, so I didn't think it was gonna.
Next door, the Stillwells waited too long to evacuate.
We watched the tsunami and we said, look at this. We're the ones that always say, why didn't they get out of town? Some people stay, some people go. Within a span of about an hour or so, the water just rose and all of our furniture started to float.
And what did you think when that water's coming up as fast as it probably did?
Somewhere in there, I kept figuring it's going to subside somewhere.
But it didn't. So the Stillwells had no choice but to ride out the storm at home, literally.
We're looking back at all this stuff coming, and then that part of the building, the house, just started to float. We floated. As we floated, this house in front of us collapsed, and so it was slow, but we just kept on floating.
Gary, his wife, and their 3 pets trapped on the 2nd floor as the entire home floated for about a quarter of a mile until it lodged in a tree across the street. And while the water was inching up, the wind was picking up. Somehow, Gary and his wife managed to escape their crumbling home and climb into their boat, which had floated alongside them. Howard Avenue had turned into a river, homes and everything in them submerged.
We found some things, like my grandmother's sewing machine and mustaches, and just things that mean a lot, but everything else is gone.
Including a family photo album that belongs to Ronsonet's future daughter-in-law. It's the only memory Constance Bruce has of her mom, who was killed by a drunk driver when Constance was just 9. The family spent hours searching for it. No luck. One of the many mementos lost on Howard Avenue.
And tonight, Aaron, Gary Stillwell is the hero of Howard Avenue after he floated down the street on the 2nd floor of his home and jumped into the boat that had floated nearby. He got out into that boat in heavy rains and heavy winds and heard screaming from the trees, looked up, had a hard time seeing, but managed to see that there were 3 people stuck in the tree, and he then pulled them to safety. So he saved himself, his wife, his 3 pets, and these 3 neighbors of his as well. But I have to tell you, before we left Howard Avenue late this afternoon, there was a hearse that drove down that street, and it was on its way to pick up 4 bodies, neighbors of Gary Stillwell's, who had drowned in their home during Hurricane Katrina. Aaron?
Well, those are 2 remarkable stories. Tell me, are you in Biloxi now? Are you outside of town? Where are you literally now?
We are right on the coast. We're in Biloxi, right across the street from the Beau Rivage Casino here.
And is the casino still standing?
It is, remarkably. This is a casino hotel with a lot of windows, and there's only one window on the very top floor which is broken. But we have seen some of the other casinos. The Grand Casino was actually pretty much in the backyard of Gary Stillwell's home. It had traveled about a mile down and then pushed itself up on the land as well. So it is a mess here.
For people who aren't familiar with this part of Mississippi, it's become in the last, I don't know, decade or so, a gambling tourist center. It's a kind of Las Vegas on the Gulf. I assume the casinos are all shut down. Do they have power there yet?
No, we don't have power. The casinos don't have power. And just speaking of the business, from what I understand, what we've been told, the casinos earn $500,000 a day for this state of Mississippi. So now they've been shut down yesterday and today. So we're talking $1 million already that this state has lost as a result of no power and no ability for these casinos to open up.
And that's not going to change anytime soon. Because just setting aside the obvious issues, the power, the water, the mess, people aren't exactly going to be flocking to a place that is in the condition that the Mississippi Gulf is tonight. Randy, thanks for your efforts. I know it hasn't been an easy day out there. Randy Kay in Biloxi, Mississippi. Last week, Raymond Arroyo had a home, a flourishing family restaurant in New Orleans, and a brand new baby girl. Today, his daughter is 14 days old, and her father is facing the fact that he's lost almost everything else. Mr. Arroyo joins us tonight from Birmingham, Alabama. How'd you get out?
We, on Saturday, Aaron, I saw what was happening. I work in Birmingham, and I was on my way back to New Orleans and got one of the last flights in. And I said, we've got to pack everything up and get out. We have 2 little boys, one 6, one 2, and we had this little child who was only 10 days old at the time. And we had to get out, and we did. So we grabbed what we could, the few clothes we could throw in the suitcase, a couple of photo albums, and got on the road. And look, you're talking to the most blessed guy in New Orleans tonight, considering all we've seen in the last hour here.
Well, I was just, Mr. Arroyo, can I call you Raymond?
Oh, please.
I was just thinking that you must, to some degree, look at the television picture sitting there, I assume, relatively comfortably in Birmingham,
sure.
looking back at your city and the condition it's in and saying, A, thank God that we're okay, and B, what is it those poor people are going through tonight?
Yeah, Aaron, look, it's my grandfather's restaurant, Tony Angelo's, which locals would know. It's a venerable Italian establishment. He's had it for years. It was, by all reports, washed away by that breach in the levee we've been hearing so much about. We live this life of abandonment. At any moment in New Orleans, these things can happen, but you never imagine they'll look like this when they do. And, to many people watching, these are rooftops. These are, chimney tops and people on them, but to us these are icons of our childhood. This is we carry home with us, and someday we might be able to go back to the place.
Well, and we all look forward to when that is going to be, but it's not going to be for a while. Raymond, thanks. Nice job tonight. I think you've helped us understand this in a couple of different ways. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for your fine work.
Thank you, Raymond Arroyo, who's in Birmingham, and as he said, the most blessed person around, to be safe with his family, including 3 children, one 2 weeks old, safe and dry in Birmingham, Alabama. Tonight we'll take a break, and our coverage continues in this special edition of Newsnight in just a moment.
Where were you during Live 8 when JR was shot? The Titanic sank again. Relive your favorite moments in entertainment in a CNN 25 special, Saturday night, 8 Eastern.
You ever think you might have worms? If your computer is slowing down or crashing or just acting weird.
E-acceleration with the full power of Stop Sign can make it like new again.
Stop Sign gives you virus protection second to none.
With a spam blocker and spyware remover.
Pop-up blocker.
And the Stop Sign firewall for all the protection you'll ever need.
Guaranteed.
You may be infected and not even know it. Go to StopSign.com for a free virus scan now.
Hey, Steve?
Yeah?
I heard there's this thing called the DirecTV Movers Connection. They install your DirecTV service in your new home when you move. And it's free.
Free. Maybe we should move. This is better.
DirecTV Movers Connection with free installation. Plus get a $50 credit. Call 877-616-MOVE.
Bringing you the world for 25 years. This is CNN.
With Sprint, people are experiencing BMW in a whole new way. Using wireless kiosks powered by Sprint, customers can build their own all-new 3 Series and ask for a test drive. Because the more new people BMW reaches, the more BMWs wind up on the road. With Sprint, BMW is accessible, interactive, beautiful. Learn more at sprint.com.
CNN tomorrow. After Hurricane Katrina's mind-boggling destruction, the overwhelming emotional devastation sets in. First-hand accounts of loss, survival, and rescue, plus the latest on recovery efforts. Larry King Live, CNN tomorrow, 9 Eastern.
Phil Archer is a reporter with KPRC, CNN affiliate in Houston, Texas. Very good television station it is. He's in Kenner, Louisiana, which is just, about 4 miles east of New Orleans. What do you see in there?
Well, Aaron, we're at a staging area set up 4 miles east of downtown, and all day a steady stream of helicopters has been bringing evacuees here. You can see they're loading them on buses. They are headed to points north, places like Baton Rouge, Homa, any place to get out of the floodwaters. The governor's evacuation order means that a new wave of refugees is going to be headed this way. So far, we're not getting a lot of details exactly how they're going to do that. She really didn't have much choice because tonight New Orleans is an unlivable city. Aaron?
People actually moving out, or are they just sitting there waiting to move out?
Well, they're a little of both. A lot of these folks have been waiting for hours to get out of here, and the buses actually only began showing up about 3 hours ago. So they had a backlog of several hundred, I would say as many as 500 at one point, and now they're finally getting things moving. But there are a lot of these folks have been in the floodwaters, haven't had any sleep, hadn't had anything to eat in the last couple of days. So everybody's tired, some people are angry, everybody ready to get out.
I'll bet they are. Phil, thanks for your effort tonight. Phil Archer with KPRC in Houston, Texas, who's moved over to the New Orleans area to do some reporting, and he helped us out. Our coverage continues after the break.